Hello, everybody. How's it going? This is Immigration Attorney Moumita. I'm coming to you live to talk to you about immigration and to see the questions that you may have on your mind today. Thank you so much for joining me. My name is Moumita Rahman, and I am an immigration attorney. I have been practicing immigration law for the past 14 years, and it is my pleasure to do the work that I do because I believe that immigrants make America great already. So if you are joining me for the first time, thank you for joining. Welcome to my live, welcome to my channel, and go ahead and tell me what your immigration question is, tell me what your concern is, and I will answer as many questions that I can during the time that I have today. And if you wanted to book an appointment with my law firm, our telephone number is 212-248-7907. Please don't fall victim to the scams that are out there. There are a lot of people impersonating me. I don't have WhatsApp. I don't have Telegram. The only phone number for us at the moment is 212-248-7907, okay? And if you want to contact us online, you can actually go to our website, which is www.rahmanlawpllc.com, and send us a submission through our contact form, okay? So welcome to my live. I wanted to ask you whether you are in a situation where you are married to a U.S. citizen or to a green card holder, and you're having a really, really rough time in your marriage. You're having a really hard time. Your spouse is always giving you all sorts of problems, from maybe putting you down to not helping you file for your papers to threatening to divorce you all the time. Sometimes they might even kick you out. And I want to ask you a question about whether you have been watching me for some time, so you might feel that you might be able to file for VAWA. However, you are hesitating in filing for VAWA because you still care about your spouse. You feel like it might be a betrayal to file VAWA. You feel like somehow if you file for VAWA, it feels like you have failed in your marriage. And I want to let you know that when it comes to filing for VAWA, it does not mean that you are choosing yourself. It doesn't mean that you are betraying your spouse, okay? So number one, when you do a self-petition, if you're filing for VAWA and you file for a green card by yourself because your spouse is not giving you a easy time in your life right now and helping you with your papers, it does not mean that they will be harmed. Number one, this is a completely confidential and private application. And the thing that I like to remind clients is that marriages are very complicated. Relationships are very complicated. We are not the sort of attorneys to tell you that you have to end your relationship in order to file for VAWA, because you just don't. The law does not require that you separate from your spouse. The law does not require that you need to divorce your spouse in order to continue VAWA or to be successful in your VAWA application. So sometimes I will have I will let clients know that, look, just because you're filing for VAWA does not mean that you can't try to have a relationship with your spouse if you want to, because you may still have a lot of feelings for them. You may still want to stay together for the sake of the kids and etc. And if you want to do that, then we will support you in that. However, we want to support you in getting your papers fixed. We want you to be safe from deportation. We want you to have a work permit and to be able to travel and to not feel scared every single time your spouse says they want a divorce. If you don't want to be in a situation where those words make you scramble and run for cover, give us a call at 212-248-7907, okay? All right, so I have a question here from Ashraf Jalil. If I get married to a U.S. citizen, how long will it take to get the green card? So Ashraf, if you are filing for a green card based upon marriage, and you are doing a joint application through marriage, your spouse is petitioning for you, all the paperwork is in order, they have the tax returns and all of those things, and you don't need to have an interview, then you may have your green card as quickly as 6 months. But if you are being called in for an interview, or if they are asking you to provide additional evidence to support your case, then it can take up to a year to a year and a half. And don't forget that if you do file for a green card through being married to a green card holder instead of a U.S. citizen, then the time will change. Someone's saying, do you agree that VAWA encourages false allegations towards a spouse? From Black TL. Black TL, I don't think it encourages that. Do you think that just having the marriage green card process encourages people to get married for a green card? There's so many allegations. There's a lot of people who will make false accusations, false charges, false paperwork. We are not in the business of that. We are here to support our clients. We believe our clients, and the unfortunate reality is that there are a lot of lawyers out there that don't take these situations seriously. I've had so many people come to me and tell me that other lawyers would not help them because they did not think that their case was strong enough or did not consider this to be abuse. And we have gone in and filed those cases for those clients and gotten them approved, okay? 212-248-7907. From user, they gave me a 10-year permanent bar at Ciudad Juarez, but I came back to the US right away. Any chance for PIP? User, so if you have the permanent bar, my belief right now is that because what the Biden administration has published about what PIP will do and that you still need to be otherwise eligible for adjustment of status. For adjustment of status, if you want to get a green card, the only way to fix a permanent bar is through VAWA or through a T visa or through a U visa. So military parole in place is not going to help you. I don't think it's going to help you if you have the permanent bar. But if you have the permanent bar, please call us 212-248-7907. We like to look for ways for you. We like to see if you might qualify for a T visa or a U visa, or maybe even for VAWA. So call us. Call us. If you were waiting for your interview in Ciudad Juarez for years, you've been waiting in the US for a long time without papers, and you're doing your case through a US citizen spouse, well, I want to ask you a few questions. Number one, during this time that you were waiting, did your spouse threaten divorce? Did they cheat on you? Did they tell you that you're a bad parent? Did they tell you that if you got denied, they would not bring your kids to see them? That they would not travel to Mexico so that you could see your kids if you got denied overseas, and that's why you had to come back? If any of these things sound like it's your reality at all, then you may be eligible to do VAWA. And through VAWA, we are many times able to fix the permanent bar and help you get a green card without you having to go back to Ciudad Juarez again, okay? So 212-248-7907. How long does it take for the travel permit to arrive after an adjustment of status? It can take 8 to 10 months. Let's see. My husband and I have been married in May. He's undocumented. How does the process work for a marriage-based green card? From Athena. Athena, it definitely depends on what your spouse's entry is to the U.S. So if you're married to someone who's undocumented and you want to help them file for papers, the number one and first thing that we have to look at is, how did your spouse enter the U.S.? If your spouse entered the U.S. with a visa, even if the visa expired years ago, then for you to file for a paperwork for them is going to be a little bit more straightforward, and usually it's a little bit quicker, assuming that all else is equal and assuming that your spouse doesn't have any other problems in the way. But if your spouse entered through the border, they don't have proof of how they entered, or if they just don't have any legal entry to the U.S., then that will create a complication, and we have to look for other ways. Definitely one way that may be possible for them is the new parole in place that we're waiting for to happen later this year. But if that is not something that they're eligible for, then we have to look for other ways, such as VAWA or a T visa or a U visa. We just simply have to do a case evaluation to find out what their options are. So Athena, if you want to call us, 212-248-7907. Can we have two EADs from two different petitions, one from a U visa and one from VAWA? From Navdeep. Navdeep, yes, you can. Let's see. Will the actual cases be delayed due to this new parole and DACA changes from AL 1979? AL, I don't know yet. We just don't know. But I do anticipate that, anytime immigration is introducing like a new application, a new process, there's always a delay at the beginning because everyone is rushing. They finally have the ability to file something, so they're going to be rushing to put in all that paperwork. And if with the way that things have been with immigration, whenever that happens, there's always a little bit of a backlog that's created. Do you think anything will ever be done for undocumented who have been here for decades, working, contributing, and getting older? From John CB. John CB, I really would like to think so. I really think that immigration has become, it is such a difficult topic. It's such a political topic that unfortunately, it's being used more and more as a political tool. So I do think that reform in general is going to be difficult, and it's going to be very piecemeal, and that there's not going to be one big thing that's done. My husband is a citizen, and I'm here since February 2024. I entered in the legal way. My visa expires in May, and he did not pay his taxes. Can I apply for a green card? From Adelaida Hernandez. Adelaida, muchas gracias para su pregunta. Voy a contestar en español porque creo que es mejor para usted. Si usted está casada con un ciudadano y usted tiene una entrada legal con un visa a este país, si su esposo no ha pagado sus impuestos y no ha tramitado sus taxes, esto es una cosa que puede ser un problema para recibir su tarjeta verde, porque en estos tipos de casos, ajuste de estatus, necesitamos que el ciudadano ha tramitado sus impuestos porque el gobierno requieren los documentos, okay? So if you are filing for adjustment of status and your spouse is filing for you, you're doing a joint tax, you're doing a joint application for your green card, and you have the legal entry. Well, if your spouse has not filed their taxes, if your spouse has not filed their taxes, if your spouse has not paid their taxes, and also if your spouse won't give you their tax returns, then this is going to be a problem in your case, okay? If your spouse is going to petition for you, then they definitely need to be up to date on their taxes for at least 3 years. So if they have not filed their taxes, then this could definitely be a problem in your case, okay? I just received a NOID letter from my DACA because I got a DUI last year. What should I do? Mimo, you need to contact an attorney, because if you get a notice of intent to deny your DACA application, then you need to act fast and you may need to appeal it. So I definitely urge you to contact an immigration lawyer right away. I'm a U.S. citizen. I married a lady from Kenya. She's here on a B2 visa. What is the next step from user? So if you have married somebody who is not from this country and they came here on a visa, then the first thing to do is to contact an attorney to help you file for a marriage adjustment of status case, and to also make sure that your spouse is eligible for this case. If you want, you can give us a call, 212-248-7907. Can you apply for your citizenship if your passport expired? From Doralisa. Doralisa, I don't see the problem with that. I don't think it's a requirement, but I'm not too sure. Tara Zara, can I change attorneys? Yes, of course. If you are working with an attorney that you don't trust, that's not working with you properly, you have the right to change attorneys. But of course, if you go with a new attorney, it may sometimes delay your process. You will definitely have to pay new fees to this attorney as well. But you can definitely do that. What does parole period is valid until 1 day mean for advanced parole? From Gustavo Magaña. Gustavo, it simply means that usually when you get parole in place, you're just allowed to parole in one time. So I believe what that means is that you're only allowed to use it for that one usage. My spouse's case is waiting for 8 months at NBC at DACA consulate. Do I file a lawsuit or wait? From Sam Rocker. Sam Rocker, 8 months is not unusual, but you can always try to get your case expedited by emailing Ask NBC. My spouse and I are newly married. He entered illegally with coyotes and he received a deportation order. I'm an American-born citizen. What would be our next steps? From How about that? Oh, hello. Thank you, Cheesy, for the gift. So if your spouse has a deportation order and you are a U.S. citizen and you want to know what to do, well, number one, if they have a deportation order and they came through the border, then they may not be eligible for the regular adjustment of status. They may need to do a waiver or wait for parole in place. But if you are, generally speaking, somebody who's married to a U.S. citizen and you have a deportation order, then rest assured, just because you have a deportation order doesn't always mean that you're stuck and that you can't do anything. A lot of times we can file your I-130 and then go to the court, ask them to reopen your case, terminate your case and let them know that we're going to file for a green card. So sometimes that's definitely a possibility. I don't want you to think that it's all over just because you have a deportation order, okay? And depending on how old your deportation order is, sometimes it can take up to like a year to do this. So the sooner you get started, the better, okay? 212-248-7907. Cheesy, my husband failed his physical exam in Juarez. What do we have to do to bring him home? From Cheesy. Cheesy, first of all, thank you for the gift, and I'm sorry that your husband is stuck out in Juarez. So when you go for your interview at the consulate in Juarez, one of the biggest things that happens to people that they don't always realize is that they have to pass a medical exam. And during this medical exam, they will ask you questions about your drug use, your alcohol use. They look at your body for tattoos to see if you might have a gang affiliation. And if you don't pass, number one, Cheesy, we have to see why your husband did not pass. Why did your husband not pass the medical exam, right? Was it because of a substance abuse disorder that the doctor says that they have? Was it because of not having vaccinations? So sometimes if it's substance abuse, you basically just have to file for a waiver, which really stinks because that means that they might need to file for an I-601 waiver, which could take up to 2 years to process. Sometimes if it's like they need to have alcohol counseling or something like that, then it could be a little bit less of a time. But what I would say, Cheesy, you can give us a call, 212-248-7907. We would love to see if we could like, if you can get a copy of the denial letter and, like we can look it over and see if we can help you with that, okay? Gustavo, that has nothing to do with how many days you're outside the US, right? From Gustavo. Yes, Gustavo, you have to, I haven't looked at a advanced parole document in a while, so I don't remember exactly how it goes, but most advanced paroles, when you get the paper advanced parole, it's usually valid for 1 year. So you have to look at the actual expiration date of the advanced parole. If your expiration date is like, from 1 year until now, then basically you can use your advanced parole usually just can be outside for many days, but you have to discuss that with your attorney, okay? I have an EAD with an advanced parole. If I leave the country and they don't let me re-enter, does my pending I-485 continue, or will it be over from Junio Goessen? That is a really good question. If you leave the US and you use your advanced parole, but CBP does not let you back in, then what happens to your I-485 case? Well, technically, they're still going to process it. They're still going to process it because it's not considered denied. But I guess if you get called for an interview on your I-485 and you can't go, then that can cause you to get denied. Okay, I hope that helps. Let's see. Thank you for the follows and all the gifts, Zach. Thank you for the follows. Will they extend the fee waiver for Afghanis, I-130s? I don't necessarily know. Afghans, sorry. I got married to an American citizen. I went to my home country and now I'm American. What do I have to do? Calm kid. Calm kid. Not sure what the question is, to be honest. Cindy, I've been married for almost 2 years. I'm in the US. I married a U.S. citizen. How do we start the process from Cindy? Cindy, first of all, call a lawyer. You can give us a call, 212-248-7907, because if you're married to a U.S. citizen, we first have to see what you qualify for and whether you have any problems in your case, whether you have any issues that would prevent you from doing your application, and what we have to do to fix that. But generally speaking, if you have a legal entry, you don't have any criminal history, it's a real marriage, you have documentation, and your spouse has the required amount for taxes, then it's usually a pretty straightforward process called adjustment of status. And that can take between 6 months to 12 months. So you can give us a call, 212-248-7907. Can a case closed with prosecutorial discretion be reopened by the court? We want to close the green card spouse's removal case from Incha Sanchan. So if you have asked for prosecutorial discretion to close your removal case, basically prosecutorial discretion is just a way that you get the prosecutors, basically the ICE attorneys, the DHS attorneys who are actively trying to get you deported. You get them to agree to close your case or to put it in administrative closure or whatever it is. So once they agree to it, basically most prosecutors will usually agree to admin close or to joint dismiss the case. If it's put in admin close, that means yes, your case can be reopened at a future date. However, if it's dismissed, then the prosecutors, basically ICE has to basically reissue the notice to appear against you again. So it's a little bit something that doesn't happen often. You'd have to commit probably a new crime or something like that for that to happen. Remus, Oriane, you have a question about the R1 visa? Remus, I unfortunately don't do R1 visa, so I don't know how long the adjustment of status process takes for that. But you can look it up online. If anyone here has a question about how long a case should take, you can actually look it up on the USCIS website and go through the processing time page. My cousin came in P3 along with her son. Her husband is a US citizen. Currently, he is not making efforts to get her papers. Is she eligible for a T visa? From Prisha. Prisha, thank you for the question. So this is a great question. If you're married to a US citizen and they're not making any efforts to get you your papers, what can you do, right? Now, Prisha, you're asking me if she's eligible for a T visa. That we have to ask. We have to see what happened in her life. But here is what can happen in some marriages to US citizens. If you are married to a US citizen, your spouse does not want to help you file for your papers. They don't want to give you their documentation. They don't want to give you the taxes. They won't, like they make you feel like you're an ignorant immigrant, that they tell you that they're stupid. You don't know any English. They don't put you on the bank account. They don't let you out of the house. They don't really want you to work. They don't want you to call your family back home. They don't want you to send money back home. Or sometimes they might make you work. They might be like, you have to do the work. You have to do all the work in the house. You have to go get a job. You have to earn everything and give me everything that you earn. If these things are happening to you, then, and you are married to a US citizen, then you may be eligible to do a self-petition called VAWA. Okay, and for VAWA, to do VAWA, you need to suffer either emotional abuse or physical abuse. And what I just described right now are actually signs of emotional abuse. So it's not the typical thing where people think that you need to be physically hurt and go to the police and get a restraining order to qualify for VAWA. You don't actually need any of that. You don't need a medical report. You don't need to have any physical abuse in order to qualify for VAWA. And how do I know this? Because the law says so. The law says so. And also, we get these approved without any physical abuse. Number two, you need to have a good faith marriage. So your marriage needs to be made in good faith. It needs to be a real marriage where you're not paying somebody to get married to you just for a green card. But what people frequently don't always understand is that sometimes if you have a very emotionally manipulative spouse, they might tell you, they might start accusing you later that you're only marrying them for a green card. But you yourself know the truth. You know whether you entered that marriage or not to have a life together. And if your intention was to have a life together with your spouse, then that's a real marriage, okay? Number three, you must have lived with your spouse anywhere for any period of time. You must have lived in the same location either before marriage or after marriage. And number 4 or 5, you must be a person of good moral character. So you can have some arrests if you file for VAWA, but there are some arrests that are not allowed. So the only way for us to find out whether you truly qualify if you have an arrest history is for you to get your documentation and let us evaluate it, okay? Now, if you're married to a US citizen, but you don't have shared residency, or you're not married to a US citizen, but you're married to somebody who is emotionally abusive to you, and they make you do all the work in the house, right? They make you do all the work in the house. They make you cook and clean from 6 a.m. to 10 p.m. at night. You have to give over all your money. They physically hurt you, or they scare you or threaten you with deportation when you don't do the work, if you don't make their dinner the right way, or if you don't clean the house the way that they like, and they threaten you, then these are scenarios that may make you eligible for something called the T visa. Now, the T visa is for trafficking. And what is trafficking in immigration? Trafficking is not the drug trafficking, narco trafficking that we would think about when we think of Narcos, the TV show, all that. It's not that. Trafficking in immigration happens when somebody kind of forces you to work. They force you to work by making you afraid of them, by threatening you with different types of abuse or threats, or threatening to get you in trouble, or making you work through through lies, right? Like they tell you that, oh, if you do this, if you work for me for 3 months, I'm going to file for a green card for you. and I'll pay you, this much money at the end. And they never do that, but they make you work through the use of fraud. They're basically obtaining your services. They're obtaining your labor through false promises, through fraud. Or if they tell you, if you don't do this, I am going to lock you in this house. I'm not going to let you out. If you don't do what I say, then I am going to hurt you. Then they're getting your work. They're getting work out of you through the use of fear, right? Or if they tell you, hey, if you don't do this work without me, when I tell you to do it, then I'll call immigration on you. That is also getting work out of you through the use of fear, or, what we call coercion. And when that happens to you, and when you're undocumented, whether that person who did this to you is a US citizen or they're undocumented themselves, you may qualify for something called a T visa. And the T visa is a pathway to a green card. When you get a T visa, you get a work permit, you will be able to travel, and you will be able to file for a green card in US citizenship within a matter of 3 years after you get approved, okay? And it is a miracle case for people who have the permanent bar, who have a legal entry, who have no US relatives. This is the way for you to be able to fix your status without having to leave the US, okay? And if you're interested in learning more, if you're interested in finding out if you qualify, you can give us a call at 212-248-7907 so we can ask you some questions. Zema, when can I have an appointment to discuss my case? Zema, call us 212-248-7907. Do you personally go to the interview with your clients, especially if they have the permanent bar? Larsila, so far I do, but I also have a team of attorneys that also go to the interviews along with me as well. How long does it take after the fingerprints to hear from USCIS again? From Junior Perez. Hi, Junior. Junior, you had a question last time that I cut off by accident and I didn't get to answer, so ask it again. Junior, I think after you get your fingerprints, you may not hear from USCIS for a matter of, 3 to 6 months usually until you get your work permit. Vibev, Tokas, I'm applying for VAWA. Do I need a fee waiver? I'm married to a US citizen. So if you're filing for VAWA, here's the great news. I don't talk about this enough. There's no more immigration government filing fees for VAWA applications. So whether you're filing for a work permit or a travel document or an I-485, if you're filing for VAWA, all of those fees to USCIS are now exempt, okay? Vijay Kale, my I-130 is approved and I-485 is rejected due to USCIS internal error. It's been 100 days. What do I do? Vijay Kale, sometimes the easiest thing to do is to just refile your I-485 and pay the fee. And I know that's a terrible thing to feel, but trying to get USCIS to fix their mistake is going to take you probably like a year to 2 years to do, okay? IG Scorpion, I was going to file for VAWA and I later came to know that my wife is already married to somebody else. Is my marriage void? IG Scorpion, I hope you're still there. Please listen to me. If you got married to a US citizen and you later find out that they're actually married to somebody else, you can still file for VAWA because there is an exception for you called the intended spouse exception or exemption, where if basically the law says that if you marry a US citizen and you later find out that your spouse, the US citizen spouse, is actually already married to somebody else, your marriage is still going to be considered valid for the purpose of VAWA. Now, if you filed a joint case, like you're filing a joint case and you find out at the interview, your spouse is there, you're there, the immigration officer is there, and then you find out that from the immigration officer that, oh, guess what? Your spouse is already married. And doesn't look like there's a proper divorce before they married you for this case, then your case is not going to get approved. But when you file for VAWA, there's an exception for that, okay? Because think about it, IG Scorpion, that's actually part of the abuse where your spouse is not telling you the truth. They're hiding everything from you. They're really not allowing you to make a decision for yourself about whether you should really marry them or not, right? When they hide the truth from you. And when your spouse hides the truth from you about their previous marriages, about their criminal history, about them having babies or children in other places, when your spouse does not tell you the truth and you know that had you known the truth, maybe you would not have married them, then that is a manipulation and that is a basis of emotional abuse, okay? And if that's happening to you and you're still without a green card, please give us a call, 212-248-7907. All right, everybody, that's all the time that I have for today. I hope you all have a great day. Have a happy 4th of July tomorrow. If you have found my videos helpful, please share them with anyone you think they might help. You never know whose life it's going to change. I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for following me and for asking your questions. And I hope to see you again next time. Again, our telephone number is 212-248-7907. For a case evaluation, just call us at any time, okay? Thank you and God bless.